automobile industry plays a significant role in the economic development of many countries, including Nigeria. As concerns about climate change and air pollution are rising, there has been a global shift towards cleaner and more sustainable transportation options. In response to this, many countries, including Nigeria, are implementing policies to promote the adoption of alternative fuel vehicles, such as CNG and electric cars. CNG has gained popularity as an alternative fuel source for vehicles due to its lower emission compared to traditional fossil fuels. CNG-powered vehicles produce lower levels of carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and particulate matter, reducing the impact of the environment and human health. The federal government has recognized the potential of CNG as a cleaner fuel option and has implemented policies to encourage the conversion of vehicles from fuel to CNG. The federal government policy on conversion of vehicles from fuel to CNG involves several key aspects. First, it includes providing incentives for vehicle owners to convert their existing vehicles to run on CNG. These incentives may include tax breaks, grants, or subsidies to reduce the financial burden of converting vehicles to CNG. Additionally, the government is actively promoting investment in CNG infrastructure, such as refueling stations and storage facilities, to support the growth of the CNG vehicle market. Late in January, the government unveiled the 2022 framework for the deployment of compressed natural gas at a meeting with stakeholders in the downstream oil sector. It rolled out plans for the redeployment of autogas in petrol filling stations and the conversion of 2,000 commercial vehicles to run on gas this year. This represents barely 3.0% of the 6.79 million commercial vehicles estimated to be in the country by the National Bureau of Statistics. What is the update in this regard? How successful has the implementation of this policy been since its implementation? Given the lack of political will, the underdeveloped energy sector, the infrastructure deficit, and the unstable economy, is Nigeria in the position to convert fuel to CNG? There is a whole lot to talk about on today's program. Thank you for joining us. I am Chana Ejoga. We'll be back more after the break. Before our conversation begins, let's take the news update. Research is the bedrock that propels progress, knowledge, innovation, and humanity. Its importance is significant and critical to societal development. As an important part of policy making, the research team consisting of members of the Senior Executive Course 45 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies take the onerous task as they deliberate and work on recommendations on key sectors of the nation to be submitted to government for implementation.
One of the major mandates of the research team is to feed the writing team in respect of the presidential Pali report. And we've been here for a while. We've been doing according or performing according to the expectation of the institute. Because regularly we meet every morning, get necessary information that have been pushed to us from the writing team, and we also give them the feedback.
While I joined this research team now, is to bring to them areas that we want them to explore further research so that we will have adequate information and updated statistics to aid what we are writing today.
It is customary for the institute at the end of the session to submit a report to the presidency on the theme submitted to the institute at the beginning of the session. So it is time to harvest all recommendations that will be submitted to the president, tentatively fixed for 13 to 15 of next month.
I think Mr. President will be surprised by the time he sees the report. I think we will do justice for the past 9 months.
The National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies is a hub for knowledge. Therefore, research is key for the creation of policies and strategies. Chana Ijoga, reporting for NIPSS Policy TV. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now back to our topic. Following the abolition of fuel subsidy in Nigeria, citizens who predominantly own petrol vehicles have been exploring less expensive alternatives to run their vehicles. As the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. With the growing public interest in compressed natural gas, powered vehicles, and electric cars in Nigeria, energy experts have toed the same path. Converting fuel vehicles to run on compressed natural gas, CNG, is the new deal. Our guest today on Policy Focus is Mr. Olusegun Adekoya, who is representing the chairman of Bolus Enterprise. He is a manufacturer of vehicles, motorcycles, and tricycles. You are welcome to Policy Focus, sir. Good to have you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
What are the regulatory frameworks and laws to guide the conversion program?
It should be a multi-stakeholder framework that starts with standards. That is, after the standard is formulated, which I like to confirm that a member of the National Gas Expansion Program, Engineer Luje, confirmed that there is a set of standards for autogas, not for CNG. Okay. Unfortunately, autogas is what Nigeria is driving, not CNG. Okay. Because autogas is derived from our the gas that we are flaring in our petroleum extraction upstream area. So now that we have the standard, the next set of activity that should follow standard is regulations. And that's where we have the likes of the DPR. And DPR is for both the midstream and the downstream regulation, where you have the guys that will store the LPG, that's the autogas, the storage of the LPG, the transportation of the LPG, and of course, finally, to some gas station that will dispense it to people that have already installed the units or the kits. So that is the downstream. The next phase is the equipment, which is the engine. Because for any automobile to move, whether a tricycle to a motorcycle or four-wheeler or trailers, you have the fuel that comes in. Fuel can be diesel, can be petrol, and now gas. Gas can either be LPG, butane, propane, or CNG, or biogas, as we may have it in the future. So for the engine, what we have today is that a larger percentage of vehicles that are in Nigeria today are basically petrol or diesel. And an approach that Nigeria is taking, which I personally believe will not make make the conversion very rapid, is that of using kits. When kit approach is adopted, it takes the responsibility of the manufacturers or their distributors. It places the responsibility in the hand of the consumers, that is, people that are using the users. And on a good day, when there is no regulation or there is lack of enforcement that people must do certain things at so period, or the conversion should be the period that the conversion should take and that should end. What you have is that people, it becomes a matter of choice. From 2024, either new or used, they must be CNG, LPG compliant. Okay. The implication is that it must be pre-fitted. The kit will have been pre-fitted before it is shipped to Nigeria. Yes. Yeah. So if Nigeria is bringing in over 400,000 vehicles, so instead of we importing 400,000 kits, they will have been pre-fitted next year. And over a period of about 5 years, 2 million vehicles on Nigeria road will have prevented kits. And that can, and that surely means that the rate of conversion will increase because you are doing it from the source. So meaning that you will have to bring in the customs as well. That, okay, how can you do it? Ministry of Finance comes in, okay, how can we, that is regulatory now. How can we do it so that any vehicle coming into Nigeria have this thing? Custom will enforce it there. Custom will enforce it, and the NEDDC will mandate it. That, okay, irrespective of benefit of duty that you are getting, make sure that anything you are bringing into Nigeria is LPG compliant. In that way, we are also supporting the government initiative. We are providing necessary support, unlike the existing framework where the federal government since COP26 have been saying gas, gas, gas. And our regulatory in our industry is saying electric, electric, electric. Yeah, we know electric is the future. But before we get to that future, we have to live in the present. You understand? So to support the government policy of auto gas, CNG, I think the equipment we are bringing in should. Then coming back to the off-takers now, that is the final consumer that already have the vehicle, you and I. I don't know if your own vehicle is CNG or LPG compliant, but it will come at a cost. And when you now look at the cost to a typical user or consumer, there is high tendency that his preference will be for diesel. You will be reinforcing the past because nobody is mandating it that by 2020, June 1st, every vehicle on Nigerian road should run on gas. And don't forget, if that is done, then government also have to do their side, that side of the deal. Because what you are saying is that I want to stimulate demand for the gas that we are flaring. So government should be able to dip his hand in his pocket, in his own pocket, and support, establish kit fitment centers where you just drive your vehicle in, they fit it in, then they can gradually take the money over a period from the gas tax that they are charging. So taxation comes in.
You know, when you talk about finance, and that was actually my next question to you, that, okay, who would really finance this project? Because looking at it, it's not something that would, all sectors, it seems all sectors would be involved, but then who would finance it? Who, in your opinion, should finance this project of conversion?
Well, two ways. For those one coming in from 2024, let it be that the equipment coming in will be pre-fitted.
Okay.
The consumer indirectly will be paying for that, for new ones. Okay. Right? For the ones that are already in Nigeria, you can set up a tax, a gas tax that will enable the government to recover its investment in the equipment, such that for everybody that if your vehicle has not been pre-fitted over a period, the government will bill you. They will fit it for you free, but they will take back in form of tax. I don't know how that would be possible, but maybe a leasing company will be put in place like they are doing for our electric meters now. You know, most electric meter in some locality are being distributed for free. But one way or the other, somebody is paying for, will pay for it, and usually the consumer. An average cost of fitting the kits is around 700,000 naira. Let's assume that you have 2 cars in your family. If I should ask you to pay additional 1.4 million, will you be willing to do that?
I don't think so, because even with the economic situation of Nigeria, most people would not even want to do that. Can't the government subsidize instead of just pushing everything on the consumers?
Well, subsidy is good, but how do you manage such subsidy? We have seen that in Nigeria, it's only few that get subsidies. That get subsidized for things that of social benefit to all. Only few get it. But in a situation where the subsidy will be disputed, like I keep pointing to India, what they did in order to ensure that there is full implementation is that they involve the original equipment manufacturer, that is the assemblers. So this is what they did in India as well, but they did not use kit approach. They make sure that new vehicles, I read all their policy, the way it has been evolving. Maybe by the end of this year or next year, they are going to introduce kits so that for those people that are not able to buy new vehicles, they can now use kits. But they have actually used the subsidy that they gave to the OEMs to ensure that there is mass adoption of CNG vehicles. And if you look at the revenue and the market share of CNG over electric, CNG over petrol in India in the last 3 or 4 years, you see that the table has changed. CNG is now controlling next to about 35% of that market. Meaning that by the year 2035, which is their 2035, you have about 35% of electric, about 40% of CNG. There may be 10 to 15% of petrol in that economy.
What about the safety standards for the regulation of parts to be converted?
I have confirmed from a member of the National Gas Expansion program that there are standards that have been elaborated by SON.
Okay.
And that is for both the equipment, that is the tank, mostly the tank,
Okay.
or as per the kits. When you look at the original equipment manufacturer in respect of kits, immediately you introduce kits into our equipment. Somehow it void the warranty.
Okay.
And that leaves a gap that NADDC have to work on, because that's the regulatory body in charge of our NADDC, National Automotive Design and Development Council. How do we ensure, work on and work in collaborate with the OEMs that, okay, if we are bringing in kits, it must be kits that have been verified and validated to my equipment, that nothing will change and that the warranty will be intact.
Okay.
Otherwise, the challenge that we are having today in our sector is that immediately you talk about kits, your OEM partners will tell you, sorry, manufacturing warranty will be an issue, and that they may not support you. And that's why when you get down to it, because that borders on the safety of the vehicle, the safety of the occupant, because there are cases of accidents where although we are talking of LPG in case of Nigeria, where the storage pressure is less than 8 bar. But in the case of CNG, that is in the order of 22 to 25 bar, very high pressure. Normally, when there is an explosion, both the occupant and the vehicle get torn into pieces. But in the case of LPG storage tank that is fitted to the vehicle, the pressure is still minimal. But if it is not something pre-fitted by the OEM, warranty becomes voided. You understand? So that is where standard comes in. Well, how about the regulations that relate to warranty issues. The legal framework that will enable us to make sure that when we fit those kits on the vehicle, when the kits are fitted on vehicle, how do we handle warranties? And that's why issue of accreditation, issue of certification of the kits. So certification comes back to both standards and accreditation body. This is where safety comes in. We are not talking of just safety.
Yeah.
How do you safeguard against explosions? How do you ensure that the quality of the kit that we want to distribute?
Before I go to the next questions, we'll take a short break. I will be back. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Policy Focus, and we've been discussing on Nigeria's automobile industry and the federal government's policy on conversion of vehicles from fuel to CNG and electric cars. We've been having that discussion with the representative of the Bolos Enterprise, who is Mr. Olusegun Adekoya. So now we will continue concerning. Before we went on a break, you were talking about standards, regulations, taxes, and everything. My next question to you is, how will issues surrounding multiple levies of loading bays for gas be avoided? Because, we're talking about some of these irregularities. So how can that be avoided?
For us as manufacturers, and in particular for me, my focus is more in the manufacturing aspect, that is the inbound logistics.
Okay.
You are talking about, within the factory logistics.
Yeah.
You are talking about inbound logistics now, which is more for the people in the logistics industry, in the logistics sector. So the best entity that can address that are customs, the people in logistics, more of the logistics companies than for us, because my own focus is more on the manufacturing issues that borders on high local content, local value addition.
Yes.
You understand? That is our focus.
Okay. I want to ask a question regards the local mechanics, the roadside mechanics that we have. How experienced are they? And how are they experienced in this field? Or do we need to train them so that they can be at par with this as this conversion is happening?
As per the old mechanics, because we now have new generation of mechanics.
Yes.
We have the old mechanics that are not using any form of diagnostic tools
at all.
And for those ones, unless they reskill, unless there is an upskilling or reskilling, they are a class of people that gradually will be going into extinction. It's just like when we were kids. You remember Ford motor that you will go to the front and they will whine it. Do you remember? Before it starts. For people that did not upskill them, they went into extinction. But in the context of gas, I believe the next set of skill set that will be required are maybe moving people that are into refrigeration and air conditioning, because it is more of gas systems now, not mechanical systems, not electrical systems. And to a large extent, we have a body of skilled workforce that are already dealing in gas, in handling of gas. So, but when it comes to the equipment, the kit itself, maybe we will need a new set of of maybe OND graduates, HND graduates that can maintain it. I use the word maintain because it may not be something that conventional mechanics will handle. You understand? Because it's just like when diagnostic system came up. If you don't take your vehicle to the right guy that have the diagnostic tools, then they will advise you to revert it back to reverse the technology so that you will be bypassing the system. But we know that ultimately such reverse is not good for the economy, it's not good for the society, the environment. So in the context of gas, I don't see much challenge. It may not be the existing mechanic that will handle it. It may be a new class of workforce that already have the knowledge in another sector that will come in and say, okay,
our old mechanics, as you put it, needs to be upskilled so that they can meet up.
Yeah, they need to be upskilled if they will be relevant. Otherwise, and it's just the gas system. It's not that they won't be able to do other things on the vehicle. And then maybe within the mechanic shop now, you now have a small office for gas system servicing and maintenance. So I guess I think the transition will be smooth.
All right, sir. Thank you. That was a very, very insightful and exhaustive discussion we have on the conversion of fuel automobiles to gas. And we thank you for your impact. We hope when next we need you, you would be available for us, sir. Thank you for coming on the program. All right, sir. Thank you.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
Well, just talking about charging the cars, we have this solar energy. If they can do it and we can charge with not depending on electricity, depending on solar, it will go a long way to help us. It's very, very visible. But the problem is management. Whatever thing we are doing, we should do it with sincerity of our hearts. You see, if they had that kind of program they want to introduce, we should look at the management of it. Not just capitalizing on it, trying to make money in few pockets and allow a lot of people to be suffering. If they can do it and manage it well, it's okay.
So I believe if the government have the political will to do it, they will do it. You understand? There is nothing that's impossible. They can do it. And I think it's a good policy too.
They can. It might help, because people today, all of us are, complaining because of the transportation and the rest. But based on my belief, I think they can only try, but they cannot actually eradicate this. They cannot change it. That's my belief.
So what I really think we need to do is just take a step backward and develop the will to really bring this into actualization. For now, I don't think we really need electrified or electric automobiles. What we need is fix the refineries, let's have the fuel, and with that we'll build an economy. These people, okay, now what happens? These cars that we're having, what happens to the cars now? What do the owners of these cars do?
It is a welcome development. But one good thing with Nigerian government is that we are good in pronouncing something. They are good in issuing out policy statement. But at the end of the day, it turned to be a pragma. Government may have a very good intention, but the implementation, the political will to carry out the policy is a problem. So these are some of the challenges. But the compressed vehicle, that vehicle, honestly, it will ameliorate, it will reduce the pain that Nigerians are going through.
If it will be nice for the government to do that, if it will be to the interest of the masses.
It's a very welcome idea, but the thing is, they always bring good ideas and good things, but sustaining them is the problem. a lot of good ideas and good things have been coming into the country, but sustaining them is a problem. Like these BRT buses is a good idea. It reduces costs for especially the staff, but the problem is sustaining it, because right now when you look at it, I think maybe 2 or 3 buses, only 2 or 3 of the BRT buses. So what happens to the rest? You see them lying there, wasting. Yeah, so that's our problem. Good idea, very good idea, the electric cars. But the problem is, can it be sustained?
It's a very welcome development if it can happen, because you need power to charge the electric vehicles. If you're traveling from here to Abuja, that's I think about 360 kilometers, and your batteries can take you 200 kilometers. If in the middle of the bush your battery runs out, what do? Are you going to abandon your vehicle there? You definitely can't do that. So it's actually good to fix power supply. And if you can have the charging points in different locations, that's another thing. I heard they're even talking about the compressed natural gas. Then if you can have that in a number of places, that will be good.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
The use of information communication and technology, ICT, in today's learning is for the purpose of enriching the knowledge and developing communication, decision-making, as well as problem-solving ability of the user. The National Policy on Education 1986, as modified in 1992, stressed the need to employ educational technology to improve the quality of education. The important role ICT can play in school education is not lost on the Director General, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS, Professor Ayo Omotayo. This is why a 3-week computer coding training was organized by the Institute through the ICT unit for students of primary and secondary schools. The DG, represented by Professor Ibrahim Choji, highlighted the aim of the Institute towards preparing youths to participate in the training so they can improve their skills in ICT for all-round socio-economic development.
When the DG came in, he set up what we call Corporate Social Responsibility Committee. What is corporate social responsibility? What can NIPSS as an institution? You know the meaning of NIPSS? You are very privileged to be here, and I pray one day some of you will be here as participants and as staff. Say amen. Good. So the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee is supposed to do something for the community, contribute to the development of the community, not just the NIPSS community itself. There is not everybody in NIPSS that is working in NIPSS, but also the surrounding schools. So the DG selected GSS, WAC, Government Science Technical School, Kuru here, Science School Kuru, GSS Canada. Unfortunately, we have Bureau of Community Secondary School. We don't know why they were not represented. So the DG said, look, he discussed with me, I'm the chairman of the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee. He said we should do something for our children. We should do something that will change the lives of our children. And what will that be? Apart from trying to help your schools around here, let's train these children on coding and programming. Because he said, even if you can get 5, some of you will become millionaires in no long time.
The training, an introduction to Visual, Basic, and Python, was in categories where winners emerged.
Look this way. Congrats, bro. Like mother, like daughter. Congrats, bro.
Don't good.
Sure.
These have been signed by the DG.
Congratulations.
Olayode Israel. I'll show you that they all performed very well, sir. We trained them, introduction to Visual Basic and Python. What we have done in the lives of these children is to expose them to programming language, the basics, the idea. Because if you have the idea, the basics grounded, you can veer into any of the programming languages. Because the basics are the same, and there is just little tweaks to the other languages. So we've succeeded in giving them the basics, and we are hoping that as they go to their respective schools, they will continue. For those that have laptops, we have told you to continue in what you are doing so that you don't lose touch with the programming languages and your skills. So, and they all performed in the exams we gave them rigorous exams. In fact, the day of the exam, they were here from 10 to 5. So you can imagine it was both theoretical and practical.
The participants were encouraged to embrace ICT for enriched knowledge and quality education. Today, our guest on Alumni Chat is Commodore Suleiman Down, MNI. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Okay. Now, what was your experience like here in the Institute as a participant?
Well, as a middle-ranking senior naval officer, before I came to NIPSS, I had attended the junior staff course at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, as well as the senior course. So I came here sufficiently prepared for the rigors of the senior executive course. But even at then, when I came in, I discovered that the curriculum here is far more demanding than what I was used to.
Wow. All right then. What has the experience so far imparted in your life and your career?
The senior executive course impacts you in 4 fundamental ways. First and foremost, it deepens your intellectual depth. It also sharpens your analytical mind. And then it grounds you better in policy research, which is aimed towards a better society. But most importantly, most fundamentally, passing through NIPSS imbues you with greater patriotic zeal, because the experience here exposes you to the critical issues of state, in this case the Nigerian state, which have to be resolved in order for our nation, Nigeria, to take her rightful place in the Committee of Nations.
There's this narrative that the Alumni Association of the Institute is an elitist group. What is your opinion?
It is not a coincidence that from the beginning of time, we've always had elites in the human society. In the medieval era, there were knights, there were lords, the nobility, across the Western civilization. Even before prehistory, we had prophets, sages, saints.
Then in the last 300 years, with the formation of the nation state, we've had, outstanding statesmen. Let's go back to the foundation of Western civilization, which is ancient Greece. You discover that they had a parliament of nobles. And those societies produced people like Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, Napoleon, Oliver Cromwell. Side by side was the development of the emergence of the Vatican, the Roman Catholic institution. So there's nothing wrong in elitism. In every society, there will be elites. Elites are the leading lights of society. They are the conscience of society. If elites think well, act well, behave well, show example, society will progress. The difference between us and some of these advanced societies is that their elite class have realized that it is in their enlightened self-interest to develop society, to ensure that there is prosperity across board. So if you must have elites, where do you train elites? There is equivalent of NIPSS in every progressive society. Make no mistake. In the UK, I choose UK because they are our colonial masters. You have the Royal College of Defense Studies. You have the RUSI, Royal United Services Institute. In France, there's an equivalent of NIPSS. In the US, we have the Brookings Institution. We have the National Defense University. They have 1,700 strategic institutions, policy think tanks. So there is no apology over the fact that Annie is elitist. It is in the nature of things that some people must lead, others will follow.
Okay, now, how impactful has Annie been to the Institute?
Now, if you look at Nigeria, from the formation of NIPSS till date, most of our leaders have been proud members of Annie. They have contributed their quota to the development of this country. Is it General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida? Is it General Abdulsalam Abubakar? Is it General Sani Abacha? Or is it late Mumabasa of blessed memory? Whoever is somebody in this country passed through NIPSS and is automatically a member of Annie. So by extension, Annie has produced members of society, exemplary members of society, who have left their footprints in the journey of our great nation. Annie, members of Annie, are in all strata, facets of our society. Annie has made, contributions in two folds. They've represented the Institute well. They have stood and symbolized the ideals of this institution.
Now, what were the circumstances that brought about you coming back as a directing staff?
I had the good fortune of serving, as a spokesman of the Nigerian Navy. And my principal was a very thorough, highly disciplined, awesome personality. I served him for 3 years as spokesman. And guess I did my job very well. And lo and behold, he called me one day and said, Suleiman, I'm sending you to NIPSS because I believe the knowledge will be beneficial to you even after you have left the service. By act of providence, I found myself here.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, being a directing staff comes with a lot of responsibilities. How have you been able to combine that with family life?
You have to compartmentalize your personal schedule. For me, I'm not your typical military officer. I had before now been with my family throughout my career. I have never parted with my family, from my family. I've never stayed away from my family. From the time I married my wife till 2023, I had always been with my family. So this is a new experience for me. But to be chosen to come here and impart knowledge is a rare opportunity. It's a rare privilege. Directing staff across the services, across training institutions are a special breed of, officers who have been adjudged to have the competence and the character required to impart knowledge.
What is your dream or your vision for NIPSS Policy TV?
NIPSS Policy TV will serve as a medium between the institute and the public. You have the onerous responsibility, task of explain the intricacies of policy formulation, policy design, monitoring, evaluation, and recently the learning aspect. So NIPSS TV has its jobs rules cut out for it clearly. Go out there, inform, educate Nigerians on the need for us to have very effective policies that will drive development in Nigeria and have a means of feedback. Serve critically as a source of feedback to the institute. NIPSS Policy TV should have a strategic partnership with members of ANI so that we could have support, financial support through adverts. If we are able to cultivate, leverage the positions of the captains of industry that are members of ANI, the institute will not have to spend a dime. And then to enhance the credibility, of NIPSS television, our distinguished alumni should make time to appear on NIPSS Policy TV so that they can serve the purpose of educating, informing, and enlightening Nigerians on the place of good policies in development of our society.
Thank you very much. That's very nice to hear. Thank you. And we look forward to people like you to create the pathways for us to get this financial support. Thank you so much indeed. Now let us come back to your personal life. How do you unwind?
Quality time with my family is not negotiable.
That's good.
In the course of my career, I've had the good fortune of traveling far and wide. And my appetite for travel is still undampened.
Okay, talking about appetite, what's your favorite food?
I think any day, anytime, amala, well prepared by my wife.
Wow.
Accompanied by ogbono soup.
Wonderful.
And well-fried ogufe.
Goat meat.
Goat meat. There's no substitute to that meal.
Now, who is your mentor and why?
I think I have several mentors, role models.
Okay.
My father was a great role model. He taught me modesty and prudence. My mother rose from classroom teacher to commissioner in my state. So I was born with a chalk in my hands. And at the age of 55, she still calls me to give one advice or the other. In the course of my career, I have encountered several senior military officers, who I didn't know, who don't belong to my ethnicity or my religious creed. But owing to our work relationship, I have found in them worthy mentors. There's this officer called Commodore Kabir Aliu, who was the Navy spokesman. I worked under him for several years, about 6 years, and I think I cuffed my feet, under him. I also had the good fortune of working with 2 chiefs of defense staff, Air Marshal Tagash and Admiral Ibrahim Ogohi. In the course of my 30 years career, I've spent about 15 between naval headquarters and defense headquarters. So I've interacted with a wide range of senior military officers, exemplary officers, and I didn't fail to pick one or two attributes in the case of each of these distinguished senior military officers.
What has been your highs and your lows? That's about talking about your happiest moments and your saddest.
Lows in the course of your career, in the course of life. Sometimes you are misunderstood. Sometimes you are underappreciated. You will meet it. You will naturally feel low as a human being. But in the tides and fortunes of men, God has, his final say. So enjoy the highs, learn from the lows, forge ahead, and keep your ultimate dreams in life in focus.
Thank you for that advice. Now, Commodore, with your vast experience, what advice would you give to people looking up to you, especially the youth, hoping to be where you are today?
Work extra hard. Have self-respect. Be the best that you can be. And dreams are quite achievable.
We appreciate your time with us. We hope that next time we come your way, you'll still oblige us to talk about national issues and policies. Thank you indeed.
It's like you went to Command and Staff College. That's how we do vote of thanks. When next Institute comes calling, I hope you oblige us.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate your time with us. We've been talking with Commodore Suleiman Dahon, MNI, and he's told us a lot about his life, and we appreciate him. Let's continue with the program. Stay with us.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
In conclusion, CNG was selected as the fuel of choice because it holds comparative advantages, namely its ease of deployment, its comparatively lower capital requirements, the commodity supply stability, existing in-country values, and local market commercial structure, which relies predominantly on the Naira. Large-scale adoption of CNG as a transportation fuel is expected to help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the country because it is cleaner than petrol and diesel. The federal government policy on the conversion of vehicles from fuel to CNG and electric cars aims to reduce environmental pollution, improve air quality, and promote sustainable and cheaper transportation in Nigeria. By incentivizing the adoption of CNG and electric vehicles, the government is not only contributing to global efforts to mitigate climate change, but also encouraging the development of a greener and more sustainable automotive industry. That's our package today on Policy Focus. Thanks for joining us. I am Chana Ejaga. Bye for now.